Alright. My PvE build's maxed out, so okay. Okay, luckily that thing is not on me, otherwise it would have been like bit. Just double checking. Yeah, it's okay, it's not on me. It would not have been good. The heard like deepwoken, what's it called? It got an update with Silent Heart, so that's kinda cool. Of course, I don't do Dang it. Of course, I don't do Silent Heart, so you know I don't care. But whatever.
fit for crushing. I shall relish in scraping the remains of the crew.
No, I'm scared.
Just make my amount to a heap. This stench is already nauseating. The conditions have been fulfilled. They are to leave unscathed.
I ain't even gonna lie to you, but whatever.
How she is thankful that Subaru always...
Hello, did you perhaps order a Rosam Helper robot?
The Wild Robot is not just the best animated...
to calm her down. Her comforting words do not affect Subaru, who continues to sob and says how she got really scared when Carrie Hope fell upside down at the monkey bar. She adds that even if everyone else is doing the same pose, and the bars are strong enough to hold everyone's weight, she still needs to stop doing that. Weigery assures her that she will not do it again and says how she is thankful that Subaru always cares for her so much. Looking at the bright smile of Weigery, Subaru finally stops crying.
Okay, what if I don't watch a show and a movie and I just exist? Well, I play the most saddest music ever, bro. My crew had a silent heart rework.
What's up, guys? It's Punchy, and it's time for a massive deepwoken update. We've got some crazy additions all around the board towards everyone's favorite oaths, but seriously, you gotta check this out. I don't even know, it might be more insane than last week's update where we got the addition of Deepwoken's Ignition Union origin and its respective dungeon. Anyway, if you want, hop in game for yourself and get the full experience from this update. Regardless, I'll show you what's up and let's get right into it. First off, with the huge change to Silent Heart, we're finally here with its rework. So let me discuss the previous version of this oath and then we'll explain how it's changed. Previously, Silent Heart was the oath without mantras, permanently locked out of these options, but they did gain access to other tools. I'm glad to say that in this update, Silent Heart still doesn't have any mantras, so that's a good thing. But anyway, moving forward with the recap. The previous Silent Heart oath talent provided the user with 2 posture, 10 HP, and 10% mantra resistance since we couldn't use mantras. Moving into the game, Silent Heart's entire kit revolved around the engine that is Dread Fighter. Parrying attacks, landing crits, and flourishes built up dread stacks which increase damage to all of your weapon damage and your mantra resistance. The max possible damage gained was 10% while your resistance capped out at 15, and these stacks could also be used with other talents. If you successfully hit these conditions, you would gain a single stack, but if a mantra hits you, you would lose one. This was all indicated by a unique visual. Next up, we had Lodestar, a talent that silenced enemy players, disabling their ability to cast mantras after hitting them with criticals, flourishes, or uppercuts. After that, Silent Heart had access to True Vantage, a vent talent. After successfully landing a vent, you gain invisibility and a speed boost, all matching the color of your tattoos. Moving on, Silent Heart also had access to Merciless Blade. Executing enemies was 25% faster, and you know, that's kind of just it. Now, onto the actual Monikati Silent Heart, let's begin with Vengeful Pursuit. With this talent, running attacks from a distance would send out a slowing crescent projectile that tracked onto targets and prevented them from running. Moving on, Ankle Cutter was also an active ability which occurred while inputting an M1 attack during your slide. This radial slice had extended range compared to M1's and also slowed players down on a hit. And finally, the last move belonging to the old Silent Heart was Monikati. So, while having some dread stacks from Dread Fighter, you could input a separate uppercut command teleporting to your enemy with a multi-hit.
Awaken your kids' creativity. Choose the build to change the story. New LEGO Dream Sets out now.
UFC 306. Buy it on ESPN+.
With that very short review, that was Silent Heart before its rework. But with this new rendition of the Oath, some stuff was kept and the rest was scrapped, but one thing's for certain, this Oath is very flexible. Alright, let's get right into it. So for starters, Silent Heart is no longer anti-mantra. We can't use mantras, but we can't exactly shut them down fully, and I'll explain what I mean. For starters, the Silent Heart Oath talent no longer gains innate 10% mantra resistance because it's been fully removed. Instead, Silent Heart players can now equip weapons at a fraction of their requirements to incentivize multiple weapon use. For example, a weapon that requires 100 will now need 75 instead of the full. Let's talk about the new changes. So first off, Dread Fighter essentially works exactly the same, but you no longer gain a damage multiplier to your weapon M1s and crits. This talent is fully used to gain resistance against mantras. Next up for Lodestar, the talent used to silence mantras has been fully removed from this oath. Applying limited gameplay to other people wasn't exactly fun, and Silent Heart isn't really anti-mantra anymore, so it's been axed completely. True Vantage, the faster and invisible vent has also been kept completely. Merciless Blade has also been kept untouched by anything, letting us keep faster grips. Surprisingly, Ankle Cutter also stayed and it wasn't changed, I guess, at all, and that's about everything that isn't new. But now, let's move on to the fun stuff. One of the most interesting things I briefly talked about earlier is cutting weapon requirements by a lot. Silent Heart is now an oath that incentivizes multiple weapon play from every single weapon class. With the new talent, Unmatched Dexterity, we can simply press X to quick swap to another weapon in our hotbar. This ability lets us completely switch tools in combat, keeping their enchant and stats, and it also opens up insane potential like never before. You can use any weapon combo you want as long as you have that stat investment required, so creativity is actually unlimited with Silent Heart, which obviously was not the case beforehand. Now, moving on to the new active abilities, let's begin with the replacement for Monikati. The old original version for this move has been cut entirely with a new talent called Rising Star. With the same exact input, we have an uppercut effect that changes per weapon used. Light weapon punts enemies into the air for additional combos, heavy weapon stomps the floor and shoots them up, and medium weapon chin checks players and sends them flying. Each weapon type does something different, incentivizing weapon swapping. Next, with Relentless Hunt, aerial attacks have changed as well for each respective weapon class. With insane tracking and catching potential, you can almost fly at enemies with Relentless Hunt. For light weapon, we slash the air and close the distance with a heavy windup and delayed damage. For medium, we vault forward and slam into enemies with some secondary slashes, and for heavy weapon, we spin twice to deal high damage for additional maneuverability. These are straight up gap closing options, and they will be insane for catching players or comboing. Now, with the talent Mayhem, we get around and even press dodge and M1 during the sprint attack. For light weapon, you'll be lunging forward towards your enemy with a powerful stab. Medium is kind of the same but with a slash effect, and heavy is a vaulting jump. Also, all of these work alongside Vengeful Pursuit, which still exists as a normal running attack. And finally, with this oath, we have a modifying talent tool called Glow State. So the activation of this tool makes your character glow with a sound which alters the windup of all of these new special moves, and this can be powerful. Essentially, it slows down the windup for each new attack, changing when the active ability comes out for bonus mix-up potential. For example, if you activate Flow, Medium Mayhem, or Heavy Mayhem, these will execute. And that's about it for the
pieces of pollo, 3 large sides, warm tortillas.
The new Silent Heart rework, which is honestly super cool. They made an oath with nothing and very low diversity, the tools to mix it up and try out everything. So this might be one of the most creative oaths that I've ever seen, so please experiment and let me know your thoughts. Unrelated to Silent Heart entirely, we've also received a new Switchblade. This is fairly simple and powerful, allowing your other weapons to use dagger talents while you don't have a dagger equipped. So it's interesting and does allow for cool gameplay. Continuing with all these massive oath changes, we actually have something of a decent change to oath. This oath dropping in limited set, I'm not gonna lie, this oath is pretty well rounded with a ton of in-game, we have a new mantra called Impel. Similar to Impel, this ability is peak with the main focus on range and applying chains to your target. This mantra is kinda insane and does a lot to apply pressure while also setting up a slowdown. Using Impel normally shoots out damaging projectiles that always place a chain on our target and always pull them in close for a chain lash flourish. The intended use of this ability is to apply chains from a distance with the possibility of a damaging follow-up. I mean, for that complete, I think this mantra is powerful and check in. Also in this update, the mantra rupture and social spark, which simply pulls the enemy closer. This was really fun and honestly just super accessible, and it might be locking down opponents. With some totally new tech, I'm super excited to introduce this because it means a whole lot for the game's community and the fan artist contests. So today we received a new armor set called the Abyss Wanderer, and if this looks familiar, it's actually from the most recent community contest, but it didn't actually win first place. Fortunately though, this means that even if you cook up something sweet and give it in a contest, it can still be added into the game, which is super exciting. So this drops from 7 different dungeons, and it's super clean in my opinion, and yeah, I love it. Onto some equipment, we've actually received something very new called the Simmerbloom Diadem. This item drops rarely from Asuka, the Pleatski's Inferno boss, and the new Ceramed Hollow dungeon, and actually has a large impact on the Pleatski's Inferno weapon. Normally, this weapon doesn't do anything unique or special on M1s besides dealing damage, but now with this equipped, it has changed. With this helmet equipped, we simply gain Flame M1s to Pleatski's Inferno on hit. There is also a cooldown to this, but on M1, you should be igniting enemies. In my personal opinion, I think that this drip looks really cool, and it's, it's effective in combat, but seriously, I think that this makes Pleatski's Inferno just boring as a weapon. It's basically undeniable that this is a massive support to an already decent elemental legendary, but Blazing, Pyrokeeper, and now the Inferno, they all have burning M1s. It's very good in my opinion, but I think it doesn't add anything mechanically interesting to the gameplay of this weapon. Anyway, moving on, with a massive accessibility update, we have something that will improve combat for absolutely every single player. This week, we've received a new visual
You're right.
Hello, Father.
Small icon under your health bar, as well as the white flag on your posture bar, which tells you that you can now parry, but that information is easier to access than ever before. Shown in game next to your current health, there's a new meter that shows the progress and regeneration of your parry. Once you press F, this thing will charge up from one side to the next, so you know when to parry. This levels the playing field for absolutely everyone, and I think it's super helpful to keep track of in combat. This is crazy for accessibility, so check it out. Alongside this, we actually got some revisions to the Voidwalker Voidheart base. Previously, before this update, the Voidwalker base had access to a lot of content that was cool in my opinion. They had the crazy Espada table for stancing up and taking pics, a large parkour area which we could run around, a massive open atrium room that players would also just run around in. Players had a ton of controllability inside Voidheart, and effectively, I guess, it wasn't fun to deal with. So, Voidheart has been downsized with the removal of the Dusty Garden, and personally, I'm really sad that these cool areas got removed from Voidheart, and I don't know how to feel. Anyway, onto an interesting change to progression, we also have a giant bug fix to kill credit contributions. According to the developers, kill contributions or the damage being dealt was counting just fine, but the credit going to the right player wasn't working at all. When multiple people got involved in dealing damage, sometimes events or bounties would effectively be randomized with the kill credit, but now that's been fixed. In gameplay, you should see a substantial improvement to progression, PvP score, event EXP, and even more if you dealt the highest damage to a specific target. Moving forward, besides these overall game changes, we've actually seen a weird adjustment coming to the Chime PvP game mode. This game mode relies on elo, or a matchmaking skill system that goes up if you win and drops if you lose. Somehow in this update, the algorithm for this Chime game mode has changed, lowering the points gained for winning slightly, while greatly reducing the amount lost on a loss. This change has little impact on overall gameplay, but we'll see how this, I guess, adjusts in the future. Talking about some new changes to the Ignition Union origin, this honestly might be peak. Spawning in with this origin, you now have the talent Union Pager. This talent tool lets you open up a Pager Pip-Boy to accept and complete jobs remotely, and that's just super awesome. Also, let's take a second to look at this UI and hear the sound effects because it's really sick, and yeah, it's super cool. Basically, you can collect and complete jobs on the go, and it plays 2017 when 2020. unique and boost progression for the Origin, and yeah, it's really accessible. Also, we got some new equipment for the Ignition stuff, and this is not specific to, I guess, the Union, but we have the Ignition gauntlets, which also look really cool. And finally, that's about it. So, as always, make sure to check out the weekly Battle Royale to win some games with your friends as the wait for Conquest still continues. If you enjoyed, and if you want to see exclusive update content just like this, make sure to like and subscribe so we can hit 100k subs. We're super close, and let's hit that goal. Anyway, thanks again. It's punch-in time.
They go great with cream cheese, peanut butter, bananas, avocado.
Delicious.
Quaker, the rice thing to do.
Safe Flight Repair.
Perfecting your swing is hard.
Nice shot, Dad.
Mother, father, sister, brother.
Safe Flight Repair.
But replacing your windshield doesn't have to be. Go to safelight.com and we come to you.
Sick.
Our highly trained techs can replace your windshield where you are, even if that's right in your driveway.
Have a good day. I love you.
SafeLight makes it easy. Go to safelight.com and schedule a replacement today.
Safe Flight Repair. Safe Flight Repair.
What's up, guys? It's Punchy, and today it's time to discuss one of the strongest oath buffs that I've seen recently. For no exact reason, the Contractor Oath got some insane improvements to a mantra, leaving a resounding impact on all combat interactions after this update. What we're talking about today comes into play with the newly changed Judgment, which is kinda insane. Before this update, Contractor's Judgment was a drawn-out string-based grab that held people still and dealt damage after a small delay. In my opinion, this mantra was honestly balanced and didn't need any buffs, but it had a few substantial counterplay options in overworld ganks. In 1v1 combat situations, once you're grabbed by this move, you're essentially locked into that damage, but when more people get involved, it's a bit tricky. You see, the entire defense against this mantra was hitting the caster while other players were stuck inside to hopefully save them from taking that delayed damage. In truth, I think that this counterplay was fair and it was balanced. But regardless of this, Judgment's stun time has been reduced by roughly 3 times, slicing its damage delay by a substantial amount. Basically, what this means is that the mantra damage comes out much faster than before, and it's kinda crazy. Just for reference, the original stun time was 2 seconds, and now the stun time is 0.6 seconds. So, by reducing Judgment's damage delay, the window to escape is much tighter and lower, forcing people to vent instantly unless they want to take that damage. In my opinion, venting Judgment isn't always the best thing to do to push people away because it doesn't do that much, but players seem to do this often. After taking a look at the mantra damage itself, Judgment deals damage on the initial hit and the delayed damage also occurs after, so players want to vent this as soon as possible to escape that combo. Besides this, Judgment's actual after effect and setup stays essentially the same, and it's still very good. After hitting Judgment at close range, the user instantly sets up Lord's Slice Pressure with a string attachment while also gaining the advantage and forcing their opponent to react to their next attack. Finally, Judgment's instantaneous feint pressure is extremely powerful when it comes out to force out actions in most situations. Hitting a block or baiting out rolls is the main benefit I gain from using Judgment feints, but after landing it, you can't exactly cancel this before damage lands since it's just so fast.